evening. Welcome to a regularly scheduled meeting of the Waterville City Council. If anybody would like an agenda, I believe, I don't see any in the plastic sleeve out back, so they must all be taken. You can have mine. Before we get started, I will ask everyone to stand and have Chairman Soul lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First up, I have a proclamation. Is there anybody here from Waterville Noontime Rotary? All right. Do you want to come up?
I'm planning on that. Can I have other members come up with me?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Tighten down the front row. Whereas the Waterville Noontime Rotary Club has been an integral part of our city's history for over a century. Whereas Rotary's motto of service above self has resulted in many projects that have had immense benefit to the community, such as the Mid-Maine Homeless Shelter, High Hopes, Operation Hope, Maine Children's Home, and many other projects vital to Waterville and the residents of the greater Waterville area. And whereas the Waterville Rotary Club decided to make a sizable donation to the Riverwalk as the club's centennial gift to the people of Waterville and the region. And whereas the city is in full support of Rotary's goal of promoting world peace and greater understanding through programs that help unite people on a national and international stage. Now therefore I, Nick Isbro, Mayor of Waterville, on behalf of the City Council, hereby recognize October 6, 2018 as Waterville Noontime Rotary Day, and as an expression of appreciation and respect for the club's good work and desire to partner for the next 100 years. Thank you so much. First up is Community Notes. Community Notes is a time where if anybody has something they would like to say or speak about that is not currently on the scheduled agenda to be spoken about tonight, now would be the time to do it. I actually have Scott McAdoo has a special announcement he wants to give. Mike, yours is quicker, so I'll let you go first.
Thank you.
Yes.
Good. This is quick, but it's not a small thing.
No.
I'd like to introduce Aaron Burrows as our new finance director. Aaron replaces Heather, who left in August. He started last Monday, so he came back again this Monday. We're very happy about that.
We'll see if he's back tomorrow.
Right. Yes, after the council meeting. I'm sure he will. But he's just going to say a couple things about himself, and then, Scott, we can get to you.
I just want to say thank you for the warm welcome, and it's been very, very nice that I've had such a good, welcoming experience. Thank you.
Hey, thanks for being here. We're glad to have
you. Good evening. My name's Scott Macko. I live in Ward 7. I'm here tonight to talk about something that everyone knows, someone who's experienced this. Here to talk about bullying. Bullying comes in many forms: physical, verbal, and visual. I was bullied all through school. I was called names. I was tripped, pushed into lockers, walls, had things thrown at me, punched, kicked, just to name a few things. I always lived in fear of going to school. What was going to happen to me next? Unfortunately, I was lucky to have a teacher who showed me people cared and made school a little better, helped me make it and graduate. Because trust me, there's several times I didn't even want to go back to school. Like I said, I was one of the lucky ones. A lot of people aren't. A lot of people commit suicide, take their lives. because they just can't deal with it anymore. Hang on, okay. I would like to ask the mayor, the council, and the citizens of Waterville to stand together, join many other communities to declare October National Bullying Prevention Month and show that bullying of any form will not be welcome in our city. Remember, everyone here knows somebody who has been bullied. It could be your mother or father, son or daughter, brother, sister, family member, a good friend, or even the person sitting here next to you tonight. So like I said, let's stand up, show everyone that Waterville is a bullying-free zone. So no one else will have to hide the scars that never fully heal. Trust me, they're there, and they still hurt to this day. So no one else will have to join the club that no one wants to join and have to say like me, I am a bullying survivor. Like I said, let's stand up this October and let's show people that we are not going to stand up to bullying in this city anymore. Thank you.
Thank you. I just have a quick community note. This last Saturday, I was able to hop on a motorcycle with the Widow's Sons motorcycle group. That's a group of Freemasons, and they go around the state. We had people from all over the state, and we met up at Tractor Supply and rode down to the main children's home for Little Wanderers and delivered not only a bunch of toys for the Christmas program, but I believe the count was 15,000 diapers for the Teen Parent School program. And I guess I would just want to bring it up because I was so impressed and touched. And as a former board member at the children's home, I know how critical everything they do there. And this is a place where, whether it's adoption services or the Christmas program or the summer camp program, the daycare or the teen parent school program, they are getting the job done and touching lives in a way that can't really be put into words here. And they're always in need, so they're always collecting boots, mittens, hats, clothes, and toys for the Christmas program, and they're always collecting diapers and taking donations for the Teen Parent School program. So it's a wonderful place. If you haven't been there, please stop over and keep them in mind as we move towards the holiday season. Thanks.
Julian Payne, Ward 5. I'd like to invite Scott to come to a school board meeting and give the presentation. That would be a good place to present that. I had 2 kids go through the Waterville school system from kindergarten to grade 12, and I was very proud of the fact that I didn't hear of bullying. They were never subject to bullying. I think Waterville definitely leads in prevention. It was a fear of mine, kids going into school, how they'd be received or picked on, but I was very proud of the Waterville system. And when I hear other schools and stories, we definitely seem to be leading the way in that. And I know myself as a kid could have been bullied with a last name like Payne, but I did escape it. But it's a big issue, and hopefully Scott comes to one of our meetings and gives a chat. I think it's this coming Monday. Thank you.
Next up for community notes.
Hello, my name is Phil Bulfield, Ward 2. Just wanted to come and reiterate my invitation to the Waterville residents about the build that we're doing for Habitat for Humanity. Again, I'm the president of Habitat for Humanity Waterville, and we're currently building a house on 11 Clark Street in Waterville. And we always love having people. Scott was with us last Saturday, bright and early, and we were building, working on siding and other things. And we love having anybody. If you have any building skills or none, we'd love to have you help us. We are looking hopefully to build another house next year also. So if not this year, we welcome any help even next year and the years beyond.
Phil, is that work going on daily, or do we just contact you for a schedule of when there is time?
Yeah, so what we do usually, we have a crew on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays as well. Today we had a crew of Maine State Credit Union who was down there helping us. And we're hoping to also have a large crew on Saturday to continue to build out. We are moving rapidly. There's a couple of few things that are left to do, and we really appreciate any help that we can get. So you can get in touch with me or go into our website, Waterville Restore, Waterville Habitat, and send us a quick note, and we'll get back to you with details on how to get involved, and we'll appreciate your support. Thank you much.
Hi, Lisa Evans, Ward 6. I just wanted to share a really nice community event that we had, a school community event, on Sunday at Quarry Road, out on the trails. The Band Strings Chorus Boosters put on a fundraising event, a run, a color run. We had lots of participation, but I also want to make a big shout out to the Colby community. We had many students show up. I believe President Green had organized or facilitated buses from campus and from the downtown dorm to go out to Quarry Road, and the students participated. A little rough on a Sunday morning for a college student to get up, but they made it, and they were so enthusiastic, and we were so grateful for them to be there and to run with our kids and to support what we're doing in our school, the public school. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Dan Libby, Ward 4. I've got a great counselor, so thank you very much. We have good representation in our ward, unlike some of the others. And I just kind of wanted to talk about the last month and a half, because it's really been a trying month and a half for me personally, and I would think for maybe many of the people in this town, to see the behavior of the people on this council and how they've treated us, disrespected us, and ignored us. It says City of Waterville Council agenda. It should say to destroy Waterville and to run our personal agendas rather than listen to the people of the town when they come here to speak to us. And since I know they don't listen when we speak to them, I'll speak to you, because a lot of what they've done doesn't make sense. About a month and a half ago, they changed the meeting night to a Monday night when there was caucusing to sneak through a vote to try to pass the Sustained Mid-Maine Coalition's plastic bag ordinance when they knew there'd be the least amount of people there. Then there was a veto, and then they came back and we had another meeting, and they came with already predetermined decisions. They didn't listen to anything anybody here said. It was already in the papers before we came here, who they were going to vote, how they were going to vote, and there was no consideration. We could have made the best points. The mayor asks very simple questions at the beginning of the meeting that they couldn't answer. They wouldn't answer because they didn't care. They had already predetermined what they were going to do. That is not representation of us. That is an agenda that they have that they're trying to pass on us. And I would also say, when we had that meeting, we also saw that when Todd Martin was here speaking before the council, he was more concerned with getting home and what inning the Red Sox game was than what it was doing to us as a town and what this ordinance would do and mean to us. Because he knew the fix was in before he came here. It didn't matter what would happen. He was annoyed with the whole process. It's a scam. It's very discouraging. I find it very sickening. Actually, the people on this council do make me sick. I can't look at them. I can't listen to them. When I hear their voices, they make me ill because they have not listened to us. I started coming here in February. They've disregarded us. They've disrespected us. It's insulting. They need to go when it's time to vote in the next couple months. I would also say vote no on the bag ordinance. It's bad for us. It's bad for our rights. It's bad for our businesses. It's bad, bad, bad. Let's get rid of the bad. Let's change this town for the better. Thank you very much.
Anybody else for community notes?
Mayor, if I may?
Yes, of course.
I would just note that absentee voting will begin in a couple of weeks. We're accepting requests for absentee ballots now in the office. Voters can fill out an application that's online, or they can call the office and request one, and we can mail them one. I expect that we'll start in-person absentee voting here at City Hall after the holiday in October, Columbus Day. Ballots should be available by then.
I actually have one more note. This is our last meeting in this room, and at our next meeting we will be up the street, ground level, in the new mixed-use dormitory on the corner of Appleton and Main. So Don't forget, next meeting, we won't be here. Is there any other community notes? All right, we will, I guess we have the disclosure of the conflict of interest. Is there anybody here on the council that has a conflict of interest on a vote that you could take tonight?
As an employee of Colby College, I will not be voting or commenting on resolutions 154 and 162.
Wonderful, thank you, council. All right. Next is the approval of the consent agenda. Can I get a motion for the approval of the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor? Unfinished business ordinance 148, 2018.
Move to read by title only.
Second.
All in favor?
An ordinance providing for amendment to the public safety ordinance.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Is there discussion? Patty, can I get a roll call?
Counselor Sol.
Yes.
Counselor White.
Yes.
Counselor Mayu.
Yes.
Counselor O'Donnell.
Yes.
Counselor Tate.
Yes.
Counselor Dupont.
Yes.
Vote is 6 in favor and 0 opposed.
Next is ordinance 149, 2018.
Move to read by title only as well.
Second.
All in favor?
An ordinance providing for amendment to the Parks and Recreation ordinance.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Is there discussion? And for those in the public that may have missed the last meeting, this is amending the hours of availability of our public parks to 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. unless otherwise posted. Patty, can I get a roll call, please?
Yes. Counselor Sol.
Yes.
Counselor White.
Yes.
Counselor Mayu.
Yes.
Counselor O'Donnell.
Yes.
Counselor Tate.
Yes.
Counselor Dupont.
Yes.
Vote is 6 in favor and 0 opposed.
Next is order 152, 2018.
Move to read by title only.
Second.
All in favor?
An order providing for approval of forfeiture.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Any discussion? Can I get a roll call, please?
Yes. Counselor Sol.
Yes.
Counselor White.
Yes.
Counselor Mayu.
Yes.
Counselor O'Donnell.
Yes.
Counselor Tate.
Yes.
Counselor Dupont.
Yes.
Vote is 6 in favor and 0 opposed.
Moving on to new business resolution 154, 2018.
Move to read by title only.
Second.
All in favor?
A resolution providing for authorizing the renewal of liquor licenses expiring between October 1st, 2018 and December 31st, 2018.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Counselor Tate, did you abstain from that vote?
I do.
Next is resolution 155, 2018.
Move to read by title only.
Second.
All in favor?
A resolution providing for authorizing issuance of a second-hand license to Waterville doing business as All Aboard Antiques, Collectibles, and Gifts.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Is he here?
I don't know if he's here tonight. I don't see him.
Roger Bayou, going once, twice? He's not here.
Thank you.
All in favor? Next, resolution 156, 2018.
A resolution providing for bid award fiscal year 18-19 heating oil. Be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Waterville acting as a municipal officer as follows. That the City Council authorizes the City Manager to enter into a purchase agreement with a selected bidder for plus or minus 12,000 gallons of number 2 heating oil at a fixed price per gallon for the period of July 1, 2018 to June 30th, 2019. And further, that the City Manager be authorized to issue a prepayment for bulk purchase of said commodity should that be required by the selected bidder. Delivery locations, City Hall, Opera House, plus or minus 7,000 gallons, Public Works, plus or minus 5,000 gallons.
Move to adopt.
Second.
So, when the agenda was mailed out to you, we didn't have the results of the bidding because actually we wanted to wait until, it was today, right, Mark, that the bids came in. So I just passed out a summary of the bid results. We sent requests to 9 companies. We only got 3 responses, as you can see. We're recommending that you accept the low price from Fabian Oil at $2.47, almost 48 cents per gallon, and that we go with a fixed price instead of pre-purchase. Well, same price, but yeah. Yeah, we would suggest the fixed price, so as we use, whatever we use, whereas with the pre-purchase, we pay for a certain number of gallons.
Right.
If we use more or less, then, so I think we pay for gallons as we use them.
Does this include the school, or?
No, they negotiated a separate heating oil price prior to this point.
How does our offer compare with what they've got?
They got $2.39 a gallon compared to our $2.48.
Don't we usually go in with them, or is that?
We usually go in with them. It'd been a long time since we had bid out the fuel oil. So when I talked with the mayor, I guess we both felt, he and I, that maybe it was time for us to go back out through the bid process, see what we got. In this case, we got something higher than what the school department negotiated with the supplier that we had last year, Springbrook. So.
And Mike's usually been raked over the coals for not bidding it out, so it was my suggestion that he bid it out. And I think next year the plan would be to go in when the school does and do a combined gallonage to see what that results in.
Yeah, I think so too.
Springbrook didn't make a proposal to the city.
I'm sorry?
Springbrook didn't make a proposal to you?
No, I'm disappointed because they've been our supplier now for 5 or 6 years.
Yeah. Oh, well.
All right, we'll go to a vote. All in favor?
Thank you.
Next is Resolution 157, 2018.
A resolution providing for renewal of a special amusement license to Cancun LLC, Sanchez LLC, doing business as Cancun Mexican Restaurant. Be it resolved by the Waterville City Council acting as municipal officers that the City Council hereby authorize the issuance of a special amusement license to Cancun LLC, Sanchez LLC, doing business as Cancun Mexican Restaurant, 14 Silver Street.
Move to adopt.
Second. Discussion? All in favor? Next is Resolution 158, 2018.
A resolution providing for police vehicle bid approval. Be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Waterville acting as municipal officers that the City Council hereby accepts the bid for one 2018 Ford Utility Police Interceptor SUV from Quirk Ford of Maine in the amount of $24,564, which includes the trade-in value of one 2012 Chevy Caprice vehicle.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Unfortunately, yesterday, the trade-in vehicle went down, and we had to have it towed. And at least a preliminary analysis of it looks like the engine is gone. So, could have just lasted another couple of days, would have been okay. In talking with Central Maine Motors, because it's a Chevy Capri, it could cost upwards of $5,000 to fix it, which exceeds the trade-in value. When we purchased this back in 2012, we purchased the extended warranty for 100,000 miles, more like 99,000 something. However, they're going to take a better look at it tomorrow and the next day to determine if in fact the cause of the engine blowing is not something due to improper maintenance or those type of things. If it's not, then they'll probably cover it and we'll be able to put a new engine in it and trade it. If we don't, if they don't, then I don't think it's worth fixing. I mean,
Right. Don't we budget 30,000 for these anyway? We budget 30,000 anyway for the
yeah,
cruiser.
I think we budgeted 33 or 32. 33. So the dealer, I contacted the dealer, and they're very much willing that if in fact we go ahead and purchase the vehicle at the full price of almost $29,000, that if in fact the vehicle is fixed and a new motor goes in it, he will then buy it from us for that $41,550.
With a new motor.
With a new motor. Well, I'll try to get a little more. It's got a new motor. But it was just unfortunate. They were driving it yesterday and it went down, stopped working. We towed it off, and at least initially, their analysis is that the motor's completely gone. So it asked council to, approve purchasing this vehicle for the full price, and then again, if we're lucky enough to have the extended warranty cover it, then we'll recover $41,550 as soon as it's fixed. If not, we'll sell it as is and whatever we can get for it.
What are you going to do with the vehicle you got under an earlier order today? You going to try to sell that as well?
Yes.
Maybe they'll take that in trade.
It's not.
Probably not.
Do we have to amend this, Patty?
He doesn't want to tell you what his other uses are for that.
Oh.
I will move to amend that we give, we change the $24,564 to the full price of the vehicle, which would be up to 29,000, 30,000.
Well, not to exceed.
Not to exceed
The original amount proposed, which was 33,000.
Okay, perfect. That sounds great.
Is there a second on the amendment?
Second.
All in favor of the amendment? Can I get a motion to move as amended?
Move as amended.
Second.
Okay. Is there any other questions? Is there any questions from the public? All in favor?
Thank you.
Next is Order 159, 2018.
An order providing for acceptance of grant award, hereby ordered by the City Council of the City of Waterville acting as municipal officers, that the city hereby accepts the FEMA grant award of $38,096 for advanced EMT training. Be it further ordered that the fire chief be authorized to complete all necessary paperwork to complete this grant award and to expend said funds for the purposes described in the grant award.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Michael.
I'd be glad to answer any questions, but I also wanted to thank Fire Chief Sean Essler for his work in securing this grant. Sean started with us on July 1, so in 2-3 short months, he's really proven his worth, not only in this regard, but many other ways also. I know that training is very, very important for him, and as the order states, this grant will be used in conjunction with equipment that we got through a Stephen King Foundation grant a year or so ago?
Yeah, we actually got, I can explain it.
Yeah, go ahead, Sean, thanks.
Sean Essler, I'm the fire chief here. I'm very excited to be here this evening, as you can probably tell. In 2016, we got a grant for about $30,000. We bought 8 AEDs and we put them on every engine and rescue that we had. That year alone, we applied them about 26 times to patients in cardiac arrest, and we have a 33% rate of return of spontaneous circulation, which means they're proven their worth in actually saving somebody's life. It's measurable. In 2017, we received a grant from Stephen King for $35,000, and we purchased 3 advanced cardiac monitors. Those cardiac monitors are used in conjunction of the early identification of coronary artery disease, ST elevation MIs, so on and so forth. It's been a great program for us. And then in 2018, of course, we just got this grant for $38,000 to bring some more people up to training. So my current training budget that I have is $12,000, and some of that is allotted for EMS and for fire. So this is essentially 3 years of training for the department. So this is very good for us. It's measurable in the form of providing advanced life support skills here in the community. So we're very proud of it. So we hope it gets accepted.
Thank you, Chief.
Excellent work.
Any questions or discussion? All in favor? Next, Resolution 160, 2018.
Move to read by title only.
Thank you so much.
All in favor?
A resolution providing for authorizing a special municipal election to be held on November 6, 2018 in Ward 3 and Ward 5.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Just if there's questions in the audience, it's because these are going to be one-year terms because of the, somebody leaving and somebody had left in this seat before. So.
Mayor?
Yes.
Could I amend this resolution, please? Make a motion to amend it in the second paragraph, instead of it being section 15, and change that to section 12, and strike out the last sentence, and instead it would say, the council may call a special election for any purpose permitted by the charter.
Yes, this was an error on my part. It's cut and paste from, from the last calling of a special election, so this is just correcting my error.
Is there a second on the
Move
amendment?
second.
All in favor?
So that works.
Now can we get a motion to move as amended?
Move as amended. So
Any discussion? All in favor?
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Resolution 161, 2018.
Move to read by title only.
Second.
All in favor?
A resolution providing for establishing hours for voter registration.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Those hours would be, since we didn't read it, we'll read it.
Regular hours here in the office for voter registration, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. We'll have one evening hours on Tuesday, October 30th, till 7 o'clock. We usually do Wednesday, but it's Halloween, so we figured we'd be here alone. So, yeah, we'll have absentee voting and voter reg until 7 o'clock that night.
So the extra night then is the Tuesday prior to Halloween, 30?
Yes, prior to Election Day. Because the cutoff to request an absentee ballot for no reason is Thursday at 5 o'clock of that week. Yep.
Great. All in favor? Next is Resolution 162, 2018.
Move to read by title only.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
A resolution providing for submission of petition.
All
Move
right.
to adopt.
Second.
And this is a petition being proposed by Mr. Mark Andre. Mark, you're here to speak on this?
Mr. Mayor and councilors, I present you a petition with 1,071 signatures. I'll ask the mayor to read it into the record and for the councilors to discuss and open up to discussion from the audience.
What do you mean read it into the record? Says, we, the undersigned residents, employees, and business owners of the city of Waterville, do hereby ask that Colby College and Thomas College, through voluntary agreement, contribute the funds necessary to lower and maintain Waterville's current tax rate of $25.27 to a competitive level of $18.95 per 1,000 for a period of 5 years. We believe that the establishment of a competitive tax rate in Waterville will unleash private investment in our community and become a key component of the current revitalization efforts undertaken by our colleges to improve both their campuses and our city. We therefore make this request as an additional investment that will allow our city and colleges to grow together and become one of the premier college communities in New England. Where'd you go?
Oh, I sat down.
Was there anything else you wanted to say, Mark?
I assume the council would like to discuss this first, and if I may reserve my comments for the end, that would be wonderful. Thank you.
Council?
This Mark Andre petition is something that I have talked to Mark about in detail. Talked to a lot of my constituents in my ward. And I want to say, I don't look at this as a divisive resolution or a partisan resolution or anything in between. Being a business advocate, as I have said many times, we have to, looking at this as a non-divisive issue, we have to look at every and all means to help the city of Waterville achieve a reduction in its tax mill rate. Everybody knows, even with discussion with state representatives and the fact that there is and has been no help from the state of Maine for a long time. We are in a different formula than other municipalities when it comes to state revenue sharing that has been dried up and has been talked about till you practically run out of oxygen. It's a known fact that that's probably not coming back. We can't rely on it. We can talk to a blue in the face. We have to look at outside the box and look at every means necessary to achieve a tax mill rate. This is our house and we have to clean it up ourselves. There's no doubt in the world that the city of Waterville has a tax mill rate problem. 30% of its property of 13 square miles is tax exempt. The onus is on the residents, street by street, due to the property revaluation that happened a year and a half ago, to bear the burden of that oppressive tax mill rate. 25 and a half, looking at 27 and a half in another year. The rate shows no sign of relenting, of going down but up. I know from my next door neighbor who pays $7,500 a year in taxes, just consulted with a real estate broker, and they're putting their house up for sale. I know a neighbor that's across the street from me on First Rangeway, Norton Weber, very well-known person that's been in this council chambers before, has put his place up for sale because the tax bill rate is so oppressive. And I know many others, as I walk my streets in my ward and talk to constituents, that the 8.3% tax increase that we incurred has really hit the pocketbooks hard. Even my own wife and I have had serious discussions when we opened the tax bill that she made it very clear to me in very defined words that we're not staying in Waterville. I think it's a very sad day for residents to have these kinds of discussions in the kitchens and the dining rooms, in the living rooms, talking to neighbors about the oppressive nature of what we're faced with. Waterville has to humble itself. We have to ask for help. I don't feel like this resolution is something that's divisive. I don't feel like it's something that is out of the ballpark, but at the same time, I want to reiterate something. Colby College is a business. Colby College has done extraordinary work in this community. And I have the highest respect and honor for what Colby College does. The institution is remarkable. The economic revitalization has occurred on unprecedented levels that I have ever seen. The economic engine and brain trust of Colby College, with David Green steering this, has been nothing short of extraordinary. And David, I compliment you for all of the things that you have done for this city and this community and continue to do. It's an ongoing process. We have to respect the fact that Colby College has mandates and has a board of trustees and governs itself as a business. And a lot of people don't look at them as a business, but they absolutely are a business. We have gone into partnership with Colby College, and I want to reiterate my stand with Marc-Andre's petition. I do not feel, I want to put the onus on Colby College. This isn't asking, it's not a demand, it's not a request. This is merely asking, and we have asked Colby College in the past for things, and there shouldn't be particulars or specifics in a contract that says you have to do this by the letter. I feel like Colby College should define exactly whatever they want. It shouldn't be that we lower it to a certain mill rate. It shouldn't be terms dictated because this is an asking proposal. Again, it's not a request, it's not a demand. So as a business advocate, I feel like that needs to be reiterated. And I think that Colby College being who they are and what they have been to this community, and this being a non-divisive resolution, I feel like that's an appropriate manner to approach this thing. And I hope that all councils will look at that as the same reproach as I am saying it, because the wording and everything is very common ground, common sense. And again, I do not, like I said, I think this is something that needs to be on Colby College's terms, and be grateful for whatever there is that may come about. And we need to, again, be humble as a city and understand that we do need assistance from all measures outside the box. Thank you.
Anybody else in the council has anything they'd like to say?
I'll speak to it a little bit. I don't oppose any private citizens going to an entity who has incredible ability to help out, to say, can you help us out? However, I just don't believe it's the council's role to make those kinds of requests. We have a role in city government to make the rules and make the laws and to enforce them fairly. Entities all through the city, whether it's Harold Alfond or Amy Calder, they should pay what the law requires. It's not our job to approach, I feel, any particular entity to ask for more as the city government. I'm afraid if you do that, you've got the possibility of the result being the entity says no and worries about fears of some sort of reprisal, or if the entity says yes, they'll expect certain benefits if they're paying the extra, I don't know, $15 million. For us as a government to be involved, I think is probably wrong, and therefore I'm going to vote against it. But I'm not opposing the citizen petition, and good luck.
Anything else in the council?
I have a question or two, if I could.
Of course.
Reminding you too that Scott brought up about bullying, so before I get my answers on this. But Mr. Andre, when you first presented this to us, didn't I ask the question about are you including Thomas College also? So did we just include Thomas College in the end?
No, that was always the petition. And I let you know that Thomas... What's that?
The postcard you sent out had Thomas College in it also?
The petition language did, that people signed. I can't remember to tell you the truth if it was mentioned, but I think we need to look at this in terms of the size of the endowments of the relative institutions and the investments that have been made in the community. What I'll say to you about the petition, Colby has been so generous, President Green, with our town. $65 million is the number I've heard that you've invested in the downtown. And the fear of residents is that's not spreading to the rest of the town because of the high tax mill rate. As Mr. Mayhew pointed out, we have residents leaving at a 25 mill rates for sale signs. And I've talked to a lot of these people as I've gone door to door. And I've asked them, you know, if the mill rate were to come down, would you consider staying? And the answer in a lot of cases is yes. It's the tax mill rate that is driving people to places like Sydney where they've had 35 new building permits this year. I've heard numbers here between about 8 and 9. The building isn't taking root in Waterville, it's going to the surrounding communities. And if we don't keep that business here in Waterville, if it continues to go to the surrounding communities, we are not going to raise revenues to the city. We need to attract new residents and new business here to raise revenue to the city in order to bring the tax rate down. And you're not going to be able to do that with a high tax rate. It's a catch-22. It's not a criticism of the council or anyone. It's just the situation we find ourselves in. So with $65 million invested in the downtown, I'm hopeful that the colleges will be willing to go back to their donor base. This isn't a request to divert funds to increase tuition. I'm hopeful that the colleges will be willing to go to the donor base, to their alumni that have been so generous to this town now, with all the projects that they've funded, $400 million for a new sports complex, to simply go to their donor base and ask if they're willing to contribute to a plan to bring the mill rate down to accelerate growth in our city. Because until we get that mill rate down, we are going to hamper growth in our city. That is simply a fact. And I don't think anyone can sit here and argue that a 25 mill rate that's projected to go somewhere between 27 and 29 mil next year is somehow good for business in our city. When you have Augusta with a 20 mil rate, Oakland with a 16 mil rate, Winslow with a 17 mil rate. This is New England government. It's municipal government. It is not county government where you have many services distributed over a county. Education, municipal waste, all distributed across the county, so you have very little difference in a county system in the mill rates from town to town. But here, you have 5 different mill rates, all lower than Waterville, significantly within 5 minutes of Waterville. And if we don't address that problem, we are going to continue to have this problem with our budget, where we continue to lose revenue or not grow revenues fast enough to keep up with the inflation of the budget. And it's the problem that this petition attempts to solve in a very friendly way. I've heard a lot about community involvement, about building collaborative efforts. Well, there it sits on the mayor's desk. 1,071 signatures of folks that are kindly asking to go to the donor base and find out if this is a feasible way to fix our tax problem here in Waterville in the short term. Now, a lot of people have said, what happens on the 6th year? Well, hopefully by the 6th year, we don't need the help anymore because we've grown revenues in the city to the point that we have a sustainably lower mill rate going forward, and hopefully we get revenue sharing back, which I support. I would love to see revenue sharing come back, but revenue sharing by itself will not fix this problem because the problem is the difference in the mill rate between here and Augusta, here and Oakland. If you get revenue sharing back, the numbers I get, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, the mill rate will drop from about 25.27 to just below 23. Augusta will go from 23.8 down to probably in the 17s. And it's actually going to widen the gap with Augusta because they have increased sales tax revenues whereas ours are flat. Oakland will drop into the 15s, but we're still 5, 6, 7, 8, in the case of Sydney, 9, 10, 11 points higher than the surrounding communities. And it is not attracting business to our area. And I just imagine a town that if we had a competitive mill rate with all the wonderful things that colleges have done here for this town, if we had a competitive mill rate to sell in Augusta around the country, where we could say to people, not only do we have a wonderful college atmosphere, a wonderful community, but we have a mill rate that is the best municipal mill rate in the state. So if you want to open a business, if you want to move somewhere with your family and have a wonderful education, wonderful colleges, a wonderful atmosphere, come to Waterville. I don't want to have to go to Augusta and tell people about our problems here and the tax problem we can't fix, about how small we are in size, about 1/3 of our area being off. But when I go to Augusta, I want to be able to sell this town. And that's why I've put this proposal forward, because we need to address this problem here in Waterville, because the state has been unwilling to address it to this point. I don't think that's going to change. But thank you.
One more question.
Yes.
All those signatures that are on that petition.
Yes, sir.
Are they all Waterville residents?
Not all. Some of them are employees, business owners. I would estimate about 97% are Waterville residents. Thank you.
Mark, did you ask the hospitals?
I guess I better stay. Do it.
It's a question that I've heard.
Yes.
Because we have 2 hospitals that use quite a bit of services here.
Yes.
They're not on the petitions.
No, they're not. I didn't think of it. Well, the colleges have started this economic revitalization plan for Waterville. If I understand it correctly, this is supposed to spread to the whole town and eventually lead to an entire town coming along with the investments downtown. So because the colleges started the plan, the place seemed to go to the colleges with the plan. And then if members want to contribute to the colleges to assist through the endowment fund or however this is chosen to be set up to fund this, that would be fantastic. But it's voluntary on all parties, so I won't tell the hospitals not to contribute, or the churches or anyone that chooses to contribute to it. But I've asked the colleges to arrange that.
I think we have some people who have some commentary as well. Mr. George, you were up.
Anthony George, Ward 6. I agree with Mr. O'Donnell. I don't think it's your responsibility to ask Colby College to pay our taxes, but it is your guys' responsibility to a reasonable budget. I was born here in Waterville. I bought my first house here in Waterville, which I still live in. My family's buried here. I love Waterville. About 3 years ago, I've been hearing all this excitement about Waterville, and they always thank Colby College. Waterville House of Pizza, they expanded, they did their remake there. In the paper, they thank Colby College. Portland Pie came, they thank Colby College. Colby College is spending $65 million downtown. That is amazing, and we're gonna ask them, because you guys can't figure out how to do a budget, we're gonna ask them to pay our taxes? I think that's very wrong. They give us free Wi-Fi downtown. That's pretty amazing. And you guys always talk about the revenue sharing. It's not just Kobe that's not paying taxes that you guys think. They do pay taxes. Guy talked today. They pay thousands and thousands of dollars of taxes to the city. But businesses also don't pay taxes. We get the TIF going. If we're not getting revenue sharing, why don't we adjust our TIF accordingly so we can get some taxes from businesses? I know the city of Waterville also gave $25,000 loan forgiveness to a business. Didn't give them to all of them, but it's weird how you guys pick and choose what businesses you do that to. Also, too, we don't do snow removal for Hannaford or Walmart, but we do at the concourse. Why don't we ask Save-A-Lot to pay a little bit more money, because we're helping their business out. You could say the same about the sidewalk dining. Those are all on public property. Maybe they should pay a little bit more, but instead we're going to attack Kobe College, who's doing great things for the city. I just don't understand. I hope you guys just take that letter and throw it away. And there is ways, I know Mark said there's no way to save money. We didn't have to buy a $250,000 plastic slide. We didn't have to spend $250,000 on the roof front. We didn't have to give thousands and thousands of dollars to KV Cap. There's a lot of things that we could have done so our tax mill rate wouldn't be so high. But our solution is to ask Kobe College to bail us out. So I hope you guys just throw that away. Thank you.
Julian Payne, Ward 5. This is what's great about American democracy. An average resident can start a petition and the president comes down. Now, in many countries, that wouldn't be allowed. That's great. So, you know, in a way, this is a positive thing. We have packed council chambers. I'm not that versed in Marc-André's petition. What I do know and feel is that there needs to be a healthy debate on user fees, like Brunswick, whether it's $250 a year, $300, and I think that would go a long way in solving some of the PR issues in the community. User fees are reasonable. It's pay as you use. I think by not sending the petition to Colby, you will actually generate more publicity. You're not ordering them to pay taxes. It's just a community debate. 1,000 plus signatures really shouldn't be ignored. The passion and dedication of Marc-André, he's more dogmatic than me. And I say, don't shoot the messenger. To put some perspective into 1,100 signatures, you only need 850 to recall a mayor, 850 for a budget repeal, and those signatures came from only half the city. If you take out people under the age of 18, that's a large percentage of the community. Those thoughts of the people that signed it won't go away. So I say present it. One of the issues is the engineers at Colby, social engineers, finance engineers, they have the big plan. They know a lot that we don't know. And I'd like to see more presentation of that so the community is aware of the big picture, so we understand what's going on. I think showing that plan and the long-term goal of how we'll look in a few years hasn't really been presented that well. You know, sometimes I wonder, is it gentrification? What's happened to our housing market? Councillor Lessing swore it was booming. On the school board, the members are saying that we can't move homes in Waterville. What's going on with the housing market? What is the political state of Waterville? These are all things I think that should be versed with the community a lot better than they have. Are students allowed to live in the community now? That's another question I've heard. All these questions, I think debate, getting involved, getting more informed is going to be a great thing for the community. And obviously Colby's done a lot. And then any time there's so much revitalization and changes going on, there's going to be teething problems. There's going to be debate, there's going to be discussions. But going to Councillor O'Donnell's concern, they had put it on a ballot in November. Should we at least have a discussion? You were able to put the bag issue on the ballot without one signature from the community.
Because they support the bag.
And yet, so really, you know, petitions are important. They're a public opinion. And I think ignoring public opinion in the short term, push it under the carpet. In the long term, you're ignoring the pulse and underlying problems of the community. So I thank Dr. Green for everything he's done. A lot of it we don't know about. And I thank Marc-André for getting involved. Thank you.
I just wanted to comment on the downtown planning and what does this look like. We actually had a ton of meetings, some right in this chamber. We had tables set up, we had slideshows, and a lot of people, sometimes they were just packed houses. And I know that a lot has happened in the last 3.5 years, and it might be easy to forget that we had those meetings, but we did have a ton of public meetings, and invited the public to come down to those. And we're going to be having a whole lot more, because there's a lot of potential changes going on, potentially with traffic and sidewalks and all these things downtown, pending the $8 million grant that we applied for. So I do want to dispel that there's a high Colby plan. It was a community plan, and with Colby and a lot of partners, we had a lot of public meetings. Nothing happened in secret there. I just hear that a lot, so I had to comment on that.
My name is Kathy Weeks, Ward 1. I'd like to thank the people from Thomas for coming tonight, and Dr. Green for coming from Colby. And Mark Andre, thank you for what you've been doing. We definitely need to send you to Augusta in the fall. Mark has spent a great deal of time going to homes for this Colby request. It's not a petition, it's a request. I have been visiting homes in Ward 1, and the message I get from every resident is, if the colleges can help us with our taxes, because the taxes are so high, we cannot stand to pay one more dollar. And the other comment they always make, why isn't the council doing something about this? The residents are desperate at this point. And what Mark said about people putting their houses up for sale, I've been asking that question too. A house went up for sale right next door to me. She's lived there for 38 years. And she said yes, because of the taxes going up. The other family that moved, which I know it didn't seem like anyone really cared, a family of 40 years, had to move because of the taxes. These are good, solid citizens, and now they're being driven out. And Mr. Mayu, some of your people, a $500 increase in taxes this term. This just cannot go on. So I support the petition for the request, and I'm in hopes that we can have some positive results working with both colleges as we move forward.
Hi, I'm Dick Thomas, Ward 3. I am uncomfortable about the petition because I think if you're trying to do a difficult project with other people, the respectful way is to involve everybody from the very beginning. I think the petition makes some assumptions about what Colby can do with their finances. But we really don't know. Is there money tied up in top priorities of their own? So I wouldn't be uncomfortable if the city talked to Colby and said, you know, we've got a problem. Can we just talk a little bit and see if there's some way we can work together on this? But that's okay with me, but I am uncomfortable about approaching them and saying, we've got this big problem and this is the way I want you to fix it for us. I don't think it's respectful. So, thank you.
I ask people to refrain from commenting when people are talking.
Dan Libby, Ward 4. So I really have no problem if somebody wants to submit a petition. My politics tell me that, you know, when we find ourselves in a desperate situation, that all of a sudden we're essentially looking to a socialist solution. I get a little worried we punish the successful for the failures of our council. That seems a little odd to me. I do have a question, though. The thing that I'm concerned about is we have 3 people on this council that are going to be voting on this. I hope are not allowed to vote on it. It seems like we have a conflict of interest by several members, and I just don't understand how that could be possible, especially with their affiliations with the college. So my understanding is that we have one employee now.
And she's already referred.
Okay, oh, what about Councilor O'Donnell? He was delivered by Councilor Lessing, so I would assume his vote is in the bag too. No? Okay. No, I was just curious, how much they were allowed to continue to get away with. Thank you.
Phil Bulfield, Ward 2. I just want to say, again, there's nothing wrong with somebody submitting a petition, and I wholeheartedly agree with the fact that, when you're in trouble, you should go and ask for help. And the thing that I disagree with is making it about just some institutions, because if we would have made it from the beginning about every institution in town, we wouldn't have this kind of divisive atmosphere in the community. Because making it just about Colby, with all the things that's been going on with the budget and all these things, kind of makes it a little contentious. So I really believe that from the get-go, if it would have made about all the organization in town and kind of make it a dialogue instead of just a petition that is targeted towards a particular institution, it would have done a lot more good than it has done so far. And also, my second thing is, we are quick to put petitions on the agenda, but there should be an agenda item for next year's budget. So every year, every meeting, our city council and our city government should be telling us what they are doing to be able to address next year, because we all know taxes are going up again. But we don't have any suggestion from our city government, but we are quick to go ahead and put this agenda item or this other agenda item on the agenda and not tell the people of the city what we are doing on a consistent basis to address the problem that we're going to be facing. Thank you.
And Phil, I just want to address just the last part. I know we had planned, and I think we still plan on starting budget talks very early. I've actually talked to Councilor Tate about that. She's going to be one of only a couple people left after November. But we also had a finance director that left, and now we have a new finance director here, so that it did kind of delay our ability to really work, because I know Mike's going to have to just get him up to speed and get things going, but we will be doing that soon. So thank you for the commentary.
Keith Dunn, Ward 7. I would just like to say that I agree with Julian Payne. I don't think any petition should be ignored. 1,000 signatures is impressive. Whether or not they were all from Waterville is another question. But onto itself, I think that the question's been brought up. I think Colby has done amazing things and is continuing to do that. But I don't think it's out of the question for the council to put forth some sort of a committee and ask all of the nonprofits in Waterville. Colby, Thomas, churches, hospitals, I think there's plenty of them. Bring them all together. Let's come together. Let's start unifying this city instead of going after one person or another and trying to be so divisive about everything. There's so many ways that we can bring this community together. Why not ask everybody to come to the table? Let's talk. Let's find ways to improve things. Let's find ways to work together. I think you're right. I think the mill rate needs to come down, but I think we need to do it with more unity. We need to stop trying to just oppose one side or the other and start trying to work together to make this all come together.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Hi, I'm Sandy Sullivan, Ward 5. I'm undecided about the petition because I'm afraid that if Colby steps up or Thomas steps up to help us out, that will give credence to the council. Hey, I've got an extra $100,000 here. Let's see what we can spend that on, because that has been the mentality. We have begged this council. We don't need a $750,000 slide. We don't need to contribute $300,000 to a river walk. I read on Facebook that we're having to limit the number of hours that our library is open because of municipal financing. Isn't education more important than these things? And so if anyone steps up and gives this council money, then I say we need to put binders on what you're doing with it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other commentary?
For a vote?
Yes, Dr. Green.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm David Green. I appreciate the opportunity to just talk to you for a minute. I appreciate the conversation and the intent behind this request, and I certainly appreciate the needs of the city. Councilor Mayhew, thank you for your thoughtful comments to start. Mayor Isgrove, I appreciate your comments about how we work together to actually determine how to make some investments in the city. It wasn't Colby's plan. It was very much working with the city, the leaders of this city, the business leaders, the civic leaders, and all of the elected leaders in the city to imagine, beginning 4 years ago, about how we could invest in the city to address a number of challenges that would be here, and that over the long run would lead to greater prosperity, a greater tax base in the city. We understood what the challenges were and thought at the time, rightly I think, that it would be important to take a number of steps immediately, significant investments to be able to ensure the long-term vitality of the city. And that includes a stronger tax base. It's fair to ask what Colby has done and whether Colby is doing its share. I take the blame for not talking enough about what we do in the city. It's clear that we're not doing a good enough job talking about the way that we invest in the city. It's important. I see the seal behind the mayor's head saying that the Waterville incorporated as a city, first as a town in 1802. Colby came 11 years later. It came at that time and has always been a tax-exempt institution in the city, as many other institutions are. Nonetheless, we believe that we have an obligation in this city to contribute to it in a number of ways. Some have suggested that perhaps we should use the college's endowment to do this. It's important to understand what a college endowment is. The college endowment is actually restricted funds largely, legally restricted in terms of where they can go. I can tell you that our endowment each year, through its interest, provides $40 million roughly a year. That's exactly what we provide in financial aid for our students at Colby. That's a primary purpose for the endowment. So to give you some sense of that, in 4 years that I've been here, about $25 million of that has gone to students from Maine, many of them from Waterville. It's important for us to be able to provide access to students from Maine to Colby and to be able to do it in a fair way. Last year, we started a program that for any family that had an income of $60,000 or under, which is well above the median income of the state of Maine, students would come to Colby without any family contribution at all. Zero contribution to come to Colby. That's important for us to be able to create that kind of access for families. Over the last 4 years since I've been here, we've provided $800,000 in direct payments to the city of Waterville. So there's a sense, I think, that Colby is not providing direct payments for various services, for other needs of the city. These are $800,000 in direct payments for the stated priorities of the city. It's included a number of things, such as roads, the Riverwalk, supporting the police department, a number of areas where the city has asked Colby for help, and we've stood up to do that. So the kind of conversation that people are suggesting that we should be able to have, where we're discussing the needs of the city, how we can support them, that's exactly what we've been doing. And I think it's on us, if we've not done enough over that time, to let people know that those conversations are happening and we're responding in a way that's positive to the city for their needs. During that same period of time, we provided $500,000 in support of nonprofits and service agencies that serve the city, including economic development, social services, arts, and culture. $500,000 right there. We have a high school tuition remission program. We've offered over this 4 years since I've been here, $750,000 in free classes to high school students here in Waterville and some of the surrounding towns. I can tell you it's a big deal for the students who take these classes for free when they come to Colby. It helps them when they're looking at college admission for themselves, but it also allows them to get credit for college courses, which also gives them a discount later on when they go to college because they don't need those additional credits. It's another way that we're able to help the students and families who are here in Waterville. Over the last 4 years, Colby students have provided 145,000 volunteer hours. The monetary value on that would be estimated about $3.1 million. And as we've seen in many of our agencies, they would not survive without this work from Colby students. Next year, Colby's projected to pay more than $140,000 in taxes. I often hear how Colby's not paying any taxes. To put that in context, at $140,000, looking at today's rates, Colby would be the 8th largest taxpayer in the city, behind places like Summit Natural Gas, Walmart, Shaw's Plaza, CMP, but above places like Home Depot, Hannaford Plaza, and everyone else. There's not another nonprofit anywhere close on that list in terms of being a taxpayer to the city of Waterville. Colby's committing $65 million to downtown redevelopment and adding significant tax revenue to the city through those efforts. To give you some examples, the Alphont Commons, which is opened up, we're paying $65,000 in taxes on that building. We negotiated with the city. We negotiated to pay more than twice as much as would be due on that building to give an added benefit to the city. 173 Main Street, the Waterville Savings Bank, we're paying $37,000 in taxes. I want to put that in context for you. Last year it was $4,600. $4,600 was the tax rate on that building. We're now paying $37,000. We put $5.5 million into that building. It's now worth $1.4 million. That's bad business. We lost over $4 million on that building alone. Councilor Mayhew said we're a business. No thoughtful business would act that way. The only kind of institution that would act that way is an institution that cares deeply about the city and the best interests of this city and sees that by adding that tax revenue, by adding a high technology company that's here because Colby College put up $250,000 to that company to come here and was able to access millions of dollars of other revenue for that company to come here to Waterville and set up shop here. Otherwise, they would never be here, would not be in that building, would not be buying homes, would not be buying products throughout this town were it not for Colby's effort and the dollars that we put into it. We're ensuring our investments are staying local as much as possible. The Alphont Commons project was a $25.5 million project. $14.5 million of that went to local companies and subcontractors, and we supported 120 jobs on site through construction. It's important to know that we often pay more than we would otherwise for using local vendors, local subcontractors in this, but we do it because it's important for us to be able to support local businesses and all the jobs that those create. So I've heard others who are arguing that Colby is getting breaks on their investments in downtown, but I would ask you to consider this. When the Hathaway Center, which is a profit-making entity, needed parking, the city leased a lot with nearly 100 spots to them for $1 a year. In contrast, Colby pays more than $10,000 a year for a lot less than half its size. $1 a year for Hathaway for twice the size of a lot that Colby pays $10,000 and will go up to $18,000 down the road in terms of what we pay for this. For those concerned about untaxed land use, that's come up several times tonight. Half the land that is untaxed in the city of Waterville is city-owned, more than 1,200 acres. More than 1,200 acres of land owned by the city are not on the tax rolls. That's the largest single holder of non-taxable property in the city of Waterville by far. There are a lot of things that a city can do to help bring their own land back on the tax roll over time. So there are many places to look when people are thinking about the revitalization of this city. We began this process 4 years ago, and despite what some are saying, I can see many signs that it's paying dividends. Companies are moving to Waterville. There are at least 400 jobs, excuse me, new jobs created. The population is in fact on the rise in Waterville. It's higher than it's ever been since 1997. People are moving back into Waterville. It's important to understand the facts on this, not on the whole moving out. Investment in downtown Waterville is rising quickly. More than 20 buildings having been bought in the downtown area over the last few years, after decades when it was, you're likely to see maybe one building sold downtown at any time. And these buildings are being renovated, new businesses are moving in. Home values are increasing sharply. This is important for a number of reasons. The home is often the most important investment that any family has. When its price and its value goes up over time, it increases the wealth and prosperity of families. It also allows the city to reduce its mill rate when that happens over time. We saw a significant jump last year, and much of it can be attributed to what we're seeing in terms of the revitalization of downtown Waterville. So we're beginning to see signs of change that are incredibly helpful in all of this. These are the kind of things that are a recipe for long-term economic growth, reduced taxes, and increased revenue in the city. Our goal is to be a good and enduring partner with the city of Waterville. We've worked hard to demonstrate that that's exactly what we are doing. We've worked hard to do our share and then some in all of this in the 4 years that I've been here. I thank you for your time.
Thank you, David. Welcome.
Mr. Mayor, distinguished council members, and members of the public. My name's Lori LaChance, and I'm the president of Thomas College. Thank you so much for taking time to discuss this very important issue and to give a real thoughtful and thorough review of the petition that's been put before you with very serious concerns of our citizens. I would be lying if I didn't say that not only do I not feel like the tail on the dog, I feel like the flea on the tail on the dog in talking with you today, because hearing the significance of the contributions that Colby has done, and I know will continue to do, they're such an important part of this renaissance that we're experiencing in Waterville. Like Colby, we're very proud to be a member of this community. As you may know, Thomas is starting to celebrate its 125th year, and we started right down on Main Street above a 5 and dime. We have very, very humble roots, and we're very proud of those humble roots. Like Colby, we strive to be good citizens, to participate in the health and well-being of this community. We support our chamber, our Growth Council, Waterville Creates. We supported the Main Street program when it was in existence. Waterville Rocks, we give to that concert. Rotary, we too offer classes to citizens in this area for free. We make use of our facilities and we offer them to the community. On any given day, you can see any young children from the recreation department to middle schools to high schools using our fields. And most recently, we've offered our facilities to be the voting facilities for free for the city. So while our contributions are different, for us, we're giving from what we can to support the city. Colby and Thomas are both higher ed institutions. But as you know, we're very different, and we play a wonderfully complementary role. Making Maine Work, a report just published by the Maine State Chamber, surveyed over 1,000 business leaders to put before the next governor the top 5 issues that will face our ability to grow as a state. And of those top issues, 3 out of the top 5 were the ability to find the workforce to drive our business's growth. 3 out of the top 5. The other 2 were health insurance and broadband. And Waterville finds itself in a situation that we actually have 2 colleges within the city limits and a 3rd college right outside our city limits. And together, we are an economic hub that can and will help drive this renaissance that's been started in the region. Colby drives in a certain way. They draw students from all over the globe in fairly large numbers. They draw visitors from all over the globe to see the museums, to participate in camps and conferences. They bring so many people to this region for which there's a benefit. They have stepped up in absolutely unprecedented ways in redoing buildings and building new buildings, in creating a sense of community and an ethic in our downtown that other communities across this state would die to have this type of investment and this type of partner and this type of public goodwill. And we owe a tremendous gratitude to Colby for that. Thomas also plays an important role, but a very different one. We are a fairly large employer, and we are a major producer of workforce to this region. You know, we draw 75% or so of our students from the state of Maine. About 80% of our graduates stay and work in Maine, and half of those stay right in central Maine. So we are part of that fuel that will help that renaissance to continue and grow. But we're different. Colby is a place, obviously, of hope and opportunity. But Thomas is as well, because of who we serve. Over 60% of our students are the first in their family to go to college. Over 90% receive significant financial aid to make it through. 75% of our students work 1, 2, sometimes 3 jobs to put themselves through college. We're very humble in who we serve, and we have to stretch every dollar as far as we can. Our endowment is about $12 million, which generates $400,000 in revenue that we can put to scholarships. In the first iteration of this idea, virtually all of those earnings would go to contributing to Waterville, which would erase everything we have for scholarships. I spoke with Mr. Andre, and he was very kind to understand our situation is completely different. And so he, I believe, suggested that our role in this would be much smaller. But I have to say, regardless of size, whatever dollars are diverted to this would be borne on the back of our first generation students who we serve, because every penny we have goes to that purpose. Prior to becoming a college president, I actually spent the first 29 years of my life as an economist. And my entire life career was built on analyzing, forecasting Maine's economic future and trying to find a way to help the state that I love to grow. I spent 11 of those years working directly as the Maine state economist for 3 different governors, a Republican, an independent, and a Democrat. And the only way that happened as an appointed official was because I never, ever got involved in the politics. It was not about the politics to me. It was always about the policy. It was always about trying to find a way to help this state grow. My hometown of Dover-Foxcroft, I would give anything to see it grow. I would give anything to see the renaissance that we are seeing and experiencing in Waterville. In my time in state government, I had a chance to look at every kind of economic development. And I also had a chance to look at what happens and to understand fully what the people who signed this petition are feeling of what happens in a service center community. A service center community bears the brunt of being home to government buildings that can't be taxed and nonprofits in large order, which are not taxed. And that puts significant burden on a much smaller part of the population. I understand these sentiments, and it is wrong, but I think the solution that I would humbly suggest would be a more comprehensive one, a more sustainable one, and a fairer one, is if we were to take this ethic of community coming together to plan and implement Waterville's future, and then take it to the state level and demand through our legislators, through coalitions with other cities like ours, with coalitions of the other independent colleges, with the Maine Association of Nonprofits, and fight for those changes at the state level to fully fund state revenue sharing again, to fully fund that revenue sharing too that helps directly mitigate the issues that service center communities face, to fully fund education. Education is the biggest part of every local budget. To look at homestead exemption. There are a number of mechanisms in state government that help cities just like Waterville deal with this issue head on. And it would be a more holistic solution, a more sustainable one, and a fairer one. So I humbly ask for your consideration of taking a broader approach to this. And I thank you for your very kind consideration of these thoughts. Thank you.
Hello, my name is James LaLiberty. I'm a Waterville resident. I was born here, raised here. I was a 1998 Waterville graduate, and I was lucky enough to be a 2002 Colby graduate. So not only am I a very big supporter of Waterville, I'm also a very big supporter of Colby. I'm going to get straight to the point. I don't think the petition is a good idea. I think if citizens want to bring a petition to the college, they can do that. Nothing is going to stop them. It's right up the hill. You can drive up there in your car and drop it off. But I don't think that the city council needs to get involved. I kind of feel like you're asking for some form of assistance, some form of welfare, but you don't want to ask directly. You want the council to ask for you. And I think that's a little bit disingenuous, to be honest with you. Having lived in this town for most of my life, I'm only now really starting to realize what Colby does for this community, and it really can't even be put into words. President Green did a wonderful job letting us know exactly what Colby does, but it's really not something that the council should be involved in at all. And Councilor Mayhew, you said that you've been around Ward 4, which is where I reside, and you have talked with residents and they support this petition. You haven't talked with me, you haven't stopped by my house and asked me my opinion. You stopped by 3 times asking for my vote before the election. It's been crickets since then. So I want to let you know, Councilor Mayhew, that I urge you to vote against this petition. I think it would be a very prudent thing for you to do. And lastly, I want to let President Green and everybody else here from Colby and Thomas know that that petition does not represent the feelings of the majority of citizens in Waterville. The majority of citizens of Waterville are overwhelmingly supportive of what Colby does. They're overwhelmingly grateful for what Colby does. And I thought that was a terrific point that President Green made, that Colby's been here since 1813. That was before Maine was even a state. That was before the Civil War. Colby and Waterville are essentially one. Colby's not going anywhere, and neither are we. Our futures are the same thing. So I don't think that this petition is even really appropriate unless a private citizen wants to drive up to Colby and deliver it him or herself, which again, there's nothing we can do to stop that. But I appreciate the opportunity to say my piece, and I urge you, Councilor Mayor, to vote against the petition. Thank you.
So, a couple minutes, and then we're going to vote after this.
Let me just say, I'm not asking for the colleges to build me a garage. I'm asking for them to invest in Waterville's tax base. I can't make that request as a private citizen. I have to make that request through you. You are in charge of the city's finances and the city's budget. If the colleges are going to make that investment, they're going to make it to the city, not to me personally as a private citizen. This is a coalition of private citizens asking the town to open up the possibility of accessing the college's donor networks to help bring our mill rate down as a stimulus to our economy. Because despite the best intentions, we have a mill rate that is going, projected at least, between 27 and 29 next year, despite all the good intentions. You have a petition on your desk that I will describe for you. There are 1,071 signatures. Roughly 150 to 200 of those are south of Mayflower Hill Drive and Gilman Street in District 109. The rest are on my side of the line, and most were compiled. In other words, we haven't even accessed Colby College yet, which is a lot of my district. It's about 20% of the voting population. So these signatures, if you scroll down the list, Mayor Isgro has 50 or 60 signatures from High Street, almost all of Drummond Ave. These aren't half the houses on a street. This is 85% of the houses on streets. And most of these streets that you will see, I've canvassed one time. I think High Street and Drummond were the only two streets I canvassed twice. When I go door to door with this petition, it has an 85% sign-up rate from citizens. If I run this petition across the whole town, this is a petition that will gather between 3,000 and 4,000 signatures at least. Now, what I'll tell you is about 200 of those signatures were compiled online. The rest, 700 to 800, were compiled by me, single-handedly going door to door and having 5 to 10 minute discussions with each resident that signed it. Now, I've come to understand very well the concerns of Waterville residents, and they're very grateful to Colby College and Thomas College. But their life is not improving, and that's the fact. That's why there are that many signatures on that petition. And I want you to think about that. I believe there were 9, 10, 11 people collecting signatures for the mayoral recall. I could not have collected that many signatures in a little over a month's time unless this had that big a sign-up rate. People are asking for help. And with the mill rate due to go to 27 to 29 next year with no plan to fix it, we've already talked about that in a prior meeting, there is no plan on the table. Who do we ask? If we want to go with legislative action, we're looking 2-3 years, if ever, down the road. We can fix this problem here together in Waterville. And President Green, I'm very grateful for everything you've done for this community. President LaChance, very grateful. The only thing we're asking is that you float this to your donors, to your alumni. Set up its own endowment. Don't access your existing endowments. Go to your donors and see if they're willing to contribute to this. And if they're not, they're not. But if they are, we can have a renaissance in this town like you've never seen before, because with a competitive mill rate, with Augusta and every other municipality in Maine, people will come here. We will grow revenues in the city, and we can grow our way out of this tax problem, and hopefully we will never need the help of the colleges again. But what this petition asks is for the colleges to form a true partnership with this town, to invest in the town by investing in the tax base, the same as every other person in this room does. Because that's what you do when you pay taxes. You invest in your community. And I understand $143,000 is a lot of money, but in terms of the total tax-exempt property, we're talking about close to $200 million for Colby when these projects are done. And $143,000 up alongside that is a very small amount. And we're asking you to please consider giving more investing more for a 5-year period to get this town up and running again. But thank you very much.
We will move to a vote. Let's make sure I get this right here. If you are in favor, that means a yes vote is in favor of submitting the petition. A no vote, which I will ask for second in order, would be to not submit the petition. All those in favor? All opposed? We have 4 opposed, 1 in favor, 1 abstention. Next up is manager's report. Mike, I kind of stole it. I didn't get that far in the agenda, sorry.
Right. You made the announcement earlier about the fact we're in a different room. 2 weeks from now, we'll be at the Chase Room in the Alphon Commons building. The entry is on Main Street. So when you come to the meeting 2 weeks from now, the entry will be right on Main Street, not on Appleton Street. And I hope you like the room as much as we do what we've seen so far. That's all I have.
Motion to adjourn.